So wonderful. The Amherst Survival Center, by the way, has the best food in town. So that's the inside tip if you really want to know what's going on. And it's a place that's actually open to anybody who wants to go there to have a meal. So, maybe you might want to put it on your agenda. So I was asked by Jenny to talk about alums, and I did one of my mind went blank things and said, I don't know anything about what alums do. And so she had to sort of talk me through it, and halfway through the conversation I said, well, let me just think. What alums have I talked to this year? And what did we talk about? And lo and behold, there I had it. I am not making this up. I went through my head and thought of the 4 alums who had most recently been in touch with me, what they'd done at Amherst, and what they've done since, as a way of thinking about just what the start that we get here makes possible once we leave. So first I have a classic alumnus story. Some of you remember this student. When Travis arrived at Amherst from an inner-city school in New York, he had written only 4 essays during his entire high school career. In his first year at Amherst, he estimated that he had to write 40 essays. Travis claimed his place at Amherst by working hard in his classes while working just as hard as a tutor and a student leader to educate his classmates and his community on a range of issues. And if any of you have ever sort of groaned, as I do every day, well, in the days when I went to the gym every day, at having to put your card through the slot, that's Travis. He realized that students of color were being profiled unfairly going into the gym. And he sort of said, this can't go on. And, if we're going to be asked, then everybody needs to be asked. And eventually that desk got put in and those cards got put through. And it went a long way to, and there were many people who said, why did you do that to us? But he was saying, no, if you got a system that asks the same question of everybody, you're doing something very different from if you're just going according to who you think you recognize. So his first teaching jobs after he completed his master's in education were in inner-city schools where he initiated programs focused specifically on young black men who were at risk of dropping out. This year, Travis began working towards a PhD in education at Columbia Teachers College. He currently volunteers at Rikers Island, tutoring 16 to 18-year-old inmates who are considered adults for sentencing purposes, but who are too young to have completed their high school education. Travis plans to write his PhD thesis on the tensions experienced within a system that must simultaneously treat students as convicts and as learners. He is one of a substantial number of Amherst students, of Amherst alumni, who have devoted themselves to solving problems related to education in American society. He's also part of the tiny 1.7% of school teachers in America who are both black and male. Here's a different kind of classic Amherst story. When Sylvia came to Amherst, her church gave her a scholarship in the hopes that she would become a doctor. By the end of her first year in college, she had dropped out of her church and dropped out of the pre-med program. But she did not drop out of her community. Sylvia's interest in advocacy, fostered in part by her volunteer work as a legal translator, eventually landed her at Harvard Law School, from where she moved into a job as a corporate lawyer representing businesses and individuals charged with, what do you think she's doing? What do you think she's, what kind of crime you think she's in? You'll never guess.
Say it loud.
What?
Financial fraud.
Yep. And she's defending them. White-collar crime. Huh? During a recent visit, Sylvia told me that one of the most rewarding aspects of her job today is the pro bono work she still finds time to do, helping immigrants put together cases to fight deportation or to win political asylum. Many students worry that if they take jobs in the for-profit sector, they will betray the ideals that propel them into community service in the first place. Sylvia's experience suggests that such choices do not have to be mutually exclusive. At each step, her willingness to open doors for others has opened doors for her. And what of those who make other kinds of career choices beyond medicine, law, business, or teaching? Unlike Sylvia, Shawnice did not leave the church when she came to Amherst. Indeed, much of her volunteer work at the college was done in association with students who belong to Amherst Christian Fellowship. Since leaving Amherst, she has devoted herself to preparing to become a Wycliffe missionary. One of Wycliffe's major goals is to translate the Bible into all the languages still spoken in the world. Shawnice already speaks several languages, including Japanese and Twi, a West African language. She is currently learning the language spoken by a small group of Amerindians in Guyana in order to contribute to the Wycliffe missionary endeavor. Increasingly, I have found that many student volunteers at Amherst have strong religious convictions. Sometimes these students worry that their convictions may be perceived as un-PC by their professors or classmates. Yet for centuries, religious ideals have been a major source of charitable motivation and have propelled important social changes. If these are the values that matter to you in taking on communal responsibilities, then it is important that you celebrate them. So I celebrate alumni like Shanice, for whom religious beliefs and charitable activities have remained a central part of their lives after college. And finally, there's Deanna, who is reading from her first published novel I attended last week. Deanna's novel, A Thread of the Sky, has just been released to great critical acclaim. Is it great when you can say that about your students? Her novel has been released to great critical acclaim by a major New York publishing house. It follows the journey of a Chinese-American family on an extended sightseeing tour of China, during which the family comes to learn all kinds of things about itself, including things it would rather not know. Deanna spent many hours at Amherst volunteering as a tutor, as well as raising student awareness around issues related to women's rights. Both of those commitments inform her present work. When she is not being a published novelist, Deanna teaches in a New York public school, where she continues to build on the interest she developed while tutoring here. In her novel, a Chinese-American student, not unlike the student she was 10 years ago, attempts to work as a community organizer among prostitutes in Beijing and discovers the limits of cross-cultural feminist solidarity. However, the student also learns that her great-grandmother had advocated for women's rights in China a century earlier, and that their mutual commitment to women's empowerment unites them in ways that go beyond the accidents of birth. Deanna's novel reminds us that when we engage with our communities, we become part of a much larger imagined community which connects us as teachers, students, alumni, and community members across time and space, language and ethnicity, religion and politics, for-profit and non-profit sectors. As another generation of Amherst graduates joins the ranks of our alumni, I want to celebrate the achievements of the alumni who have preceded them and look forward to the successes of the next generation of students who will follow in their footsteps. So, congrats.